led to us doing this topic is that we were saying that by being nominated, that Hollywood's changed in the last decade or two by singling out movies that are normally would have been overlooked, and so the fact that they get nominated suddenly brings all this new life into these movies at the box office.
But the fact that
they are promoting them.
They're not promoting them. What they're doing is they're taking credit. They're taking credit and then not giving. They're actually not giving us anything of substance.
So basically, you're saying that when something that the Hollywood machine wasn't initially backing turns out to be successful, Hollywood jumps up like Pee Wee Herman off the front lawn going, I meant to do that.
Exactly. And
Yeah, but they become successful a lot of times because of the fact they get nominated by the Hollywood people. So it isn't that they inadvertently became successful.
How successful was Moonlight?
Well, I'm saying that it would have been even less so without a nomination.
What kind of promotion did they do for Moonlight after it won Best Picture?
It was already pretty much out of the theater, I think.
What promotion did they do for No Country for Old Men when it won Best Picture? Huge. Why? Because it was sexy. Killers, money, gangs. Same thing with Spotlight. It's sexy.
But see, the problem is nowadays...
No. That's it. There's nothing sexy about it.
The problem nowadays is also that they create such tiny windows for movies to be out before they have to hit DVD and VOD that if you came out anytime before November, you're SOL even if you win the biggest awards, because it's like time to watch it on home TV. We can't possibly keep it on the big screen and let you experience it the way it should be.
Well, to say that things have to be experienced on the big screen, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that, like, I saw Moonlight on my TV at home, which is a fairly big screen, not to lie. It's 65-inch, But even still, like, I think it probably worked better for me in that because, I don't think Moonlight's a perfect movie. I have some issues with it on a technical level, but most of those are masked by the fact that I didn't get out of my house, go sit down in a room full of people on a 40-foot tall screen with perfect sound and watch a movie where they didn't stabilize their camera. But I just saw Downsizing. I had wanted to see it for a long time. You know what I mean? My life right now is kind of in upheaval, and it got kind of ignored when it came time for awards, and Alexander Payne was their guy. It
wasn't that great a movie.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, cool, great. This is the perfect place to end this conversation.
Okay.
I hate Alexander Payne. I don't think he's necessarily bad. I think he's only made one bad movie, and that movie was Nebraska. But other than that, my problem with Alexander Payne's movies is the same problem that I have with Radiohead's music, which I find that it is about his movies are always about somebody who is being shit on, who tries to do something exceptional, it doesn't work out, and then they just have to accept that that's life. It's literally a movie about victimized defeatists. Every one of his movies, whether it's Election, Sideways, Nebraska, The Descendants, any of them, right? So that's one of the main things that kept me away from Downsizing, even though I really liked the premise. I managed to go see it about a week ago at a little, $3 theater, like second run, theater. Saw it on a Saturday afternoon. And I was watching the movie, and from minute one, it was about kindness and humanity and hope and progress. And I was wondering to myself, how did Alexander Payne make this movie? How did he make such a gentle, kind, progressive, human film? Have you seen the film? Yeah, you said you. Okay, so spoilers. 2/3 of the way through the movie, it gets revealed that we're too late. That downsizing people happened too late, and the world is going to end. In a couple hundred years, there's no turning back. The world's going to end. So when that twist happens, I thought to myself, oh, great, here comes the Alexander Payne. Bring on the pain. Here comes the defeatist. Everything sucks. You're just going to have to deal with it. But then something beautiful happens in the movie. And it actually turns out that the third act, the decision that Damon has to make is, do I go underground with these scientists and work to repopulate for future generations, or do I stay behind now and help the people who are already here who are suffering? Yes, we're all going to die. Yes, everyone dies. But does that mean that people have to suffer while they're alive? And what I thought was beautiful was that basically the conflict of Act 3 of that movie is, do I help people now or do I help people later? Like, that was his conflict. And I thought that was beautiful. Now, the reason why the movie didn't hit off with people is because there's not a single sexy thing about the movie. There's not like, the jokes aren't like mean-spirited and hip. Like, there's not like some kind of big drug plot. There's no blame throwing at Big Farm. There's no, and the love interest isn't like some sexy, blah, blah, blah kind of chick. The main character, like, there's nothing hip. There's nothing cool. There's no cool that they could sell you. And I'm not saying that that's why people didn't like the movie. I'm saying that's why the movie didn't take off. There was nothing really to latch on to about it.
Well, for you to say that all his movies are so mean-spirited, I mean, About Schmidt has one of the most beautiful endings I've ever seen in a film. I love the fact that the guy realized, this guy who's been a curmudgeon his whole life, realizes that he has made a difference in the life of this kid. But the people in his own life are cruel to him and don't care about him. Well, I mean,
so that's what he has to accept.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also about that he's made a difference when he thought he didn't make a difference.
But all the people around him still alienate him.
Okay.
And all everyone that he tries to interact with and make a connection with. And then the one woman who's kind of into him, he thinks she's old and gross. And that scene is meant to make fun of her, which I don't know why Kathy Bates would do that scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's insulting. It's an insulting scene.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't...
Well, and Payne is a weird guy as far as Nebraska goes. One thing that, if I could digress into... I have a beef with something about the rating system, is that, especially when it comes to... all across the board, there's all sorts of problems. I mean, generally, I guess it makes sense. You kind of know what you're in for at each rating level. But Alexander Payne... in his movies, they're like the gentlest R-rated movies as far as why they're rated R of anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that this guy gets rated R while...
But rated R doesn't just have to do with bad words. It also has to do with subject matter and
come
content.
On.
I think Where the Wild Things Are should have been rated R.
My point about Nebraska, I got to interview him for that in depth. And I said, I was like, wait, so this movie... You make it about a 70, almost 80-year-old man. You make it in black and white, small-town America. There's no way on earth you're going to be getting any hip young audience anyway to this. Why the hell would you go for an R rating with it was 3 words, if that, were R-level words, just over the line.
Right.
And I asked him, and he goes, oh, you know what the word was? I actually had to fight the ratings board over it. Or fight Paramount to keep it R-rated. And I'm like, what? He goes, the fact that one of the guys, I think Dern says about Stacy Keach, cocksucker. I go, really? You lost probably $15-20 million from an older audience that would have loved to go see a movie about small-town America and old people that they could relate to and all that. You could have had a PG movie and reached vastly more people, and you stood your ground over that. And he just looked kind of like, oh. Then he was like, yes. I mean, and...
Because he's an artist, not a romantic.
Oh, yeah, but what I'm saying is, it just is... I'm not talking about driven by... How is that art to stand by cocksucker? You could have used a million other words.
If you want to get into what the actual problem is, it's people not caring about anything other than themselves and thinking outside of themselves. I got a million friends right now who are like... I know a lot of people, I should say, who are wanting to do projects right now on their own to make names for themselves. They want to do something to show themselves off, right? Because the career's not happening for them. And, I've been in the same boat. I've been trying to make things for 10 years, for 12 years now that, try to break into this industry. But I don't stop at saying, I want to show people what I can do. I know that when I create something, the fact that I've created it will be all the benefit that I need personally. So when I create something, what I say is, what is it that I think people need right now to be, you know what I mean? What do they need? What will benefit people right now? And then what do they want in that order? And then I create something, and I don't have another thought about whether or not I'll look good in the end. I just trust that I'm doing it for other people. And that's also a big problem with the industry, is that it's full of people who are doing things just for themselves. And not that that's always a bad thing. Everyone is afraid to lose their jobs. Everyone, whether they're a big-time movie executive or whether they're the guy who works at, the fucking Arco, But it says a lot to me that this is the first Alexander Payne movie in 15 years that is getting no attention from the Academy, from critics, from that's and it's a scary narrative to see that it's just very telling that this is the first time Alexander Payne hasn't gotten a nomination for one of his movies. And it shows where people's true heart lies. The reason why they didn't do a push for downsizing is because it is the most anti-consumer movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
without preaching it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It literally is the most anti-consumer. It literally makes money irrelevant at the beginning. They're like, oh, you don't have a lot of money? That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what it says. How dare it? It has to die.
Yeah.
Because
they kind of
but
financed
it's because
it cost $65 million to make or something.
Right, but it took him
15 of all the effects.
Yeah, but it took him 12 years to make it?
I mean, but one of my point is that the studio put some serious coin behind this movie.
Right. Most of these people who do these things, though, don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It's all just
especially at Paramount. They're the worst.
It's survival instinct.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose money. They don't want to lose face.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that Hollywood's a place where people are taking risks and daring to do bold things. No. And I don't think it necessarily has to be. I think that Hollywood is best at inspiring. That's what they need to do. And they can do that with a movie like a Cassavetes film, or they could do it with a movie like Transformers. I know that sounds crazy, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you can do that with, a comedy. You could do that with a kid's film.
Sure. Ratatouille
is the most inspirational movie I've ever seen.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's better than any animated movie that's come out since. Any of them. And I'll finish off what I'm saying about the Oscars. In 2003 or 4, Chris Rock changed my whole perception of film when he was the host of the Oscars, and he came out and he was doing an interview, and he said, they asked him who he thinks should win Best Picture, and he says, every single person in the world knows that Spider-Man 2 was better than any movie, than anything nominated. Like any audience member will tell you that Spider-Man 2, they liked that more than even $1 Million Baby.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Of course.
And Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 2, when you go back and watch it, is everything that Hollywood promised us in the beginning. It's romantic. It's and not just like kissy romantic.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's inspiring. It's adventurous, but it's also deep and felt and modern and progressive. So my pick for Best Picture 2018 is Spider-Man 2.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time here, so we're going to be dealing with the Oscars probably much more directly the week before when Zoe's in the house as well. And
we miss her so.
Yes.
Zoe, come back.
So next time, or until next time, I'm Carl Kozlowski.
Oh, I'm Joe Black.
And
we'll see how much longer I last.
Dr. David.
Yeah, I pipe in.
All right. Thanks, folks.
I'm glad to know somebody else likes Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. That's nice. It took 10 years for me to find someone. And that someone was you.
I'll go check it out.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And scene.